Hello, everybody. It is June 15th, 2025. It's Joe from the Strange Voyage Files. My background is I usually, when I do a video, I try to find something, a picture, album cover, or whatever it may be, that goes along with the theme of the video. And this one's unique. This video is bands that, because I'm a metal fan and classic rock too, people assume I like. That either don't like, or there's different, you know, different stages of like or dislike or whatever it may be. So I just figured, we'll throw out this video. I think this was my first Christmas with that bear. I loved that bear. My God, I had that bear forever. But yeah, this video really, it's interesting. And what made me think of doing this video is Sirius XM, because Sirius is consistently playing the same crap over and over on Hair Nation and Ozzy's Boneyard. Now, I live in Chicago, and Chicago has always had this problem with having good hard rock stations. We had the Loop, which is gone now. There was, 94.7, because 97.9 was the Loop, right? Or maybe I have it backwards. But those were the two big ones. And one, the Loop is gone. One of them, 94.7, I think, is still around. But, they never really played metal. So, you're kind of stuck with Ozzy's Boneyard and Hair Nation. And they just play the same stuff over and over and over. And, when I have people in the car with me, or I'm in their car or whatnot, and they'll put on, some bands will come up and be like, oh, you gotta love this one. No, this band sucks. I've never liked this band. Or people will just play a certain band. They're like, oh, I know you like these guys. And no, I don't. They suck. The band sucks. I parallel this with sports. Everybody assumes I like sports because I'm a guy. And no, I know, I can tell with my great sports body. I've never been into sports. And in fact, growing up on the north side of Chicago, I hated the Cubs. And because I didn't like sports, I could care less about the Cubs. And man, did I hear about it. It's probably what drove my hatred for sports, was that. And then I was in my teens and early 20s in that legacy of the Bulls. Jordan, could care less about him too, and the rest of them. And again, why don't you take your Ozzy Osbourne and go? He can go. What they would say. Why are you wasting money on an Ozzy ticket? You should go to a Bulls game, man. Go to the Cubbies. I went to one Bulls game, and I worked at Coca-Cola when I was right out of high school, and one of the higher ups had tickets, and cool guy, really nice guy, and he gave them to a secretary who was older than me. She was married and had a kid, but I was kind of like the intern in that department. And she said, "Hey, why don't you take your husband and your son? There were four of them, 4 tickets, and take Joe and go to a Bulls game." And sorry, my daughter's messaging me. And I was like, fine, yeah, let's go see what the hype is. I was bored out of my mind, and it was during the Jordan legacy. So at any rate, people always kind of assume that there are certain bands, because you're into hard rock, heavy metal, and I'm going to throw a couple classic rock bands in here too. You have to like these people. You have to like these bands. You have to like these bands. So I'm going to go through some, and I did this in phases. I did a list here. There's an interesting category I'm going to start off with, and then it's like a couple of bands that I'm a fair weather fan of, bands that I'm really not into, but I wish I could have gotten into, and then bands that I just think suck, absolutely suck. So let's jump into this. All right. I'm going to go all cards on the table, guys. I'm not super Catholic. I was raised Catholic, went to, all those years Catholic school and whatnot. I'm still a practicing Catholic, but I'm not going to start, waving a cross at anybody. But one of the things was I never got into bands that were overly satanic. And I know a couple of these bands I'm going to talk about, it was kind of just part of their vibe and part of the, they weren't really Satanists, or they weren't really hardcore Satanists, but they played it up a lot. But because of that, even back then and even now, I just never really got into. So the first one right off the bat is the King of 'Em All, Slayer. Now I do know, Slayer, Slayer songs. I think "Seasons in the Abyss" is an unbelievably awesome song. "Raining Blood" is great. I just, because of the overly satanic overtones, I never got into Slayer. Probably never will get into Slayer. But I do recognize that Slayer is a phenomenal band. It is not. I would never ever say Slayer sucks. So just not a band I ever, because they were over. That was part of their gig. It made them a lot of money. It got them a lot of notoriety, and people absolutely love them because of it. And again, I understand that is a great band that made some great albums. Just never got into it. But again, a lot of people, oh, you're Slayer, Slayer. The next one is probably one of the newer ones on this list, Ghost. Same reason too. I have listened to some of their songs too, and it is good. Now Ghost I know is totally like made up with the overly satanic stuff. Just again, not my thing. It's my beliefs, the way I was raised. Another one is Venom. Now Venom, I probably know the most out of these satanic bands, if you will, because my closest friend's older brother growing up was a big Venom fan, and he would play that all the time, and I always liked it. I always really thought, this was even before I got into metal. I was definitely scared of it, but I always liked Venom. But again, they were, again, very satanic. That was part of their gig, part of their thing to do. So, Venom is another band a lot of people think, oh, you got to like Venom. Just never got into them for it. Again, these bands, Slayer, Ghost, Venom, I can say are great, great bands. Now, there's the next one I'm going to talk about. I did purposely listen to just recently, and I had never listened to before, believe it or not. This is would definitely be out of these four, because I'm only going to talk about four, would be my favorite. And this music is, without a doubt, absolutely phenomenal. Absolutely. And that's Merciful Fate / King Diamond. I listened to Abigail and Melissa, and some of Don't Break the Oath. I didn't listen to all of those three albums, but I listened to certain tracks off those albums. If it was not for, and again, I'm not waving any crucifixes at anyone, I definitely will say that Merciful Fate and King Diamond are absolutely, absolutely, absolutely phenomenal. Just because of the satanic themes, it's just not my type, my thing. But again, all four of these bands, I can tell, five really, because it's Merciful Fate and King Diamond. I can recognize her great artists. So none of these would I say suck. I'm going to get to that list eventually. Two bands that I'm fair weather fans of are, the first one is Deep Purple. And I think that I'm a fair weather fan of Deep Purple because I really haven't given a lot of effort to get into Deep Purple. I mean, I've listened to In Rock, Fireball, listened to, I know their hits and whatnot. For some reason, I just didn't go into the deep dive of Deep Purple. Probably going to do that at some point in my life, and I hope that I can get more into Deep Purple, but just kind of a fair weather fan that I do want to get more into. The other one, now this one I know a lot better, AC/DC. Fair weather fan, but man, I don't think they're as great as everybody believes they are. AC/DC is always at the top few, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, top maybe 5, whatever. A lot of times the top 3 lists of the best hard rock heavy metal bands. I don't get it. Now, I, like everybody else, listened to Back in Black a trillion times. And that album was great. I liked The Razor's Edge, which I know there are people that don't like that one because it's too commercial. I have listened to the Bon Scott stuff. I've listened to, at some point or another, I've listened to every AC/DC album. Now, are they great musicians? Yes. Are Angus and, God rest his soul, Malcolm phenomenal musicians? Absolutely. Good guys, too, by every account. Just not really big into AC/DC, and they're not one. I leave them at the fair weather versus the bands I wish I could get more into because they don't do anything for me. But man, I mean, that is probably That band, and then there's another one we're going to get to that in the suck category that people just assume that I like. And AC/DC, if they're, put it to you this way, with AC/DC, if somebody had a free ticket, decent seats, I'd probably go, but I would really think about it too. Also, before I go any further, I'm leaving off hair bands because the only hair bands I really like are Warrant, and yes, I'll give you roast me all you want. I love Warrant. I don't consider Skid Row a hair band, and I don't consider Rat a hair band. I mean, maybe they can be. The other ones I could care less. The rest from Cinderella sucks. I don't care about Night Songs. That album, and yes, I've heard the album, sucks. Sucks. Cinderella sucks all around. Bon Jovi sucks. All those bands suck. So I'm not even talking about hair bands here. Okay, the next group are bands that I kind of wish I could get into, that I've tried. And the biggest one is Led Zeppelin. Again, this is a band I recognize as awesome. I am not in any way, shape, or form saying that they suck. I just can't get into Led Zeppelin. I've listened to every album they have. I've listened to every album they've had on more than one occasion. In fact, people have told me all different things. A guy I worked with in the past, we used to argue this all the time because Physical Graffiti and Led Zeppelin 4 are the ones everyone tells me to listen to, which I've listened to multiple times. He told me to listen to Led Zeppelin 2. And again, it's okay. It's just I can't get into it. But the argument was he goes, I never told you to listen to Led Zeppelin 2. It was Led Zeppelin 4. No, it was Led Zeppelin 2. And it got to the point where we would joke. We'd pass each other in the hallway, and I would do this, and he would do this, and then we'd flick each other off and whatnot. And that was just kind of a running joke for a couple of years. But I would love to get into Led Zeppelin because I know how great they are. And I acknowledge how great they are. I just really can't get into it. I'm going to keep trying. Now, I do say I like the album Houses of the Holy. That's probably my favorite from Led Zeppelin. So, whatever that means. The next one is the Rolling Stones. This is more in the classic rock. I like them. Not a big fan. I don't see the super hype in the Rolling Stones, but that's one I wish I could get a little bit more into. Another band that I wish I could get into that I've tried, Anthrax. And again, this is a band. These bands that I wish I could get into, I acknowledge they're good. This is why I wish I could get into them. Anthrax, and Anthrax was my first concert ever when I saw Ozzy for the No Rest for the Wicked tour. They were opening for Ozzy, and I got State of Euphoria, which I don't think is considered one of their better albums. I know Among the Living is usually like the one people say to listen to, or the first one. But I did, and I listened to State of Euphoria quite a few times. Didn't do anything for me. I do like Persistence of Time. I will say that. That album all the way through. But I wish I could have gotten a little bit more into Anthrax. The other one, I guess, Pink Floyd. Just because they're proggy. I do like, and I like Genesis. I like Asia. And Pink Floyd does have some unbelievable musicians. So I do kind of wish that I was able to get into them a little bit more. But, that one I'm not really losing any sleep over. All right. Here we go. Because these are the bands that suck. These are the bands that if you told me, and I am not BSing you here, if you said I have a ticket, I have backstage passes, I would not go to the show. I hate these bands. And boy, I'm going to start with the one that I think people don't really care if I say I hate, and then I'll move on to the ones where people are going to go nuts in the comments. First one, Montrose. Montrose sucks. I've listened to Montrose, that first album, multiple times. I've never gone anything beyond that first album because that's supposed to be the best one. The classic Montrose album sucks. Nothing on that album is good. I like Hagar. I like Hagar's solo career. I like Hagar. I like Van Hagar. I will say it. Montrose absolutely sucks. Does nothing for me. You could take those albums and wipe them from the face of the earth. All right. That's the one I think people are going to be like, yeah, okay, you don't like Montrose, who cares? Here we go. Let's start with what's considered I'm going to start at the bottom of my list that I wrote here. This is in no particular order. None of these are in any particular order. The one that most people think is the best band of all time, the Beatles. They do nothing for me. I don't get it. They wrote simple songs, and okay, simple songs can be very catchy, which they are and good. Nothing for me. The Beatles suck. Absolutely suck. Hey Jude is good. Yesterday, if that's them, I see. And I can't even keep track of what's a Beatles song and what's a solo song, and I don't care enough to. Those two are about it. Just a but breakfast with the Beatles. Every station in every city had breakfast with the Beatles on Sundays. I'd go over to my buddy's house on Sunday mornings, and his parents were listening to Breakfast with the Beatles. I got to the point where I wouldn't go there on Sunday mornings because I wanted to take it was a stereo. I wanted to take the stereo and throw it through the window. I hate the Beatles, the most overhyped band in history. I cannot stand them. All right, Guns N' Roses. Absolute garbage. I said it then. I will say it now. I will say it till the day I die. Guns N' Roses suck. Night Train, You Could Be Mine. I do like Civil War. Actually, that song Right Next Door to Hell by Axl's Old Neighbor. That's it. Those are the only 4 good songs I can think of. Actually, no, I like the single version of Don't Cry. That's it. Everything else, you can take the rest of Appetite for Destruction and flush it down a toilet. Yes, including Mr. Brownstone. Now, Paradise City I did like when it came out, but that may be just because it's been oversaturated. I've hated Sweet Child of Mine from the first time I heard that stupid song. I cannot stand that song. I hate that song. I cannot stand Guns N' Roses. That being said, Slash, Duff, and Steven Adler, I love those 3 guys. Think they're phenomenal musicians. I like a lot of their solo stuff. And maybe a lot of my despise of GNR is Axl, because I think he's a complete and utter ass. He seems to have gotten more normal now, but too late for me. But I don't like the music either. So it's not just Axl. I don't like the music. But again, that being said, Slash, Duff, and Steven, I think are awesome musicians. And I do like a lot of their solo stuff. I don't know anything about Izzy. It doesn't mean anything to me. But Guns N' Roses itself, absolute trash. Trying not to. I realized in other videos because my mic is on the desk. I'm not going to get one of those mics that are freestanding. Got to stop hitting the desk because it sounds like you can hear it when like banging. Oh, here's a big one. If Guns N' Roses didn't piss you off, one song, actually half of one song from this band is good. Rush. Rush sucks. Across the board, they suck. Fly By Night sucks. Tom Sawyer sucks. Oh God, what are their other horrible songs? The only decent song they have is Spirit of Radio, and it's the first half of it where it goes into the chorus that's only played once. And then they go into some garbage for the second half of the song. God. The only good thing about Rush is the Fly By Night album cover. I always thought that was cool. Rush sucks. I've never liked that band. I have gotten into more arguments over Rush than telling people that I can't stand the Beatles. They are, no. And again, you know what? Not saying this is my opinion. I'm right. This band sucks. Roast me all you want in the comments. No, Rush there's nothing. You'd still take Spirit of Radio and flush that down the toilet too. Rush, the whole catalog sucks. I'm going to piss a lot of people off with this one too. Scorpions. Absolutely suck. And they, between AC/DC, Guns N' Roses, and the Scorpions, Sirius plays one of those bands on either Ozzy's Boneyard, Hair Nation, the classic rock one, garage one. There's flip through the channels, you'll find one of those bands playing. Here's the other thing that I love. They do the setups where they'll start talking about like Ozzy or something and then usually go into an Ozzy song. No, they'll talk about Ozzy or they'll talk about Iron Maiden or they'll talk about Dio and go into a Scorpion song. But every time they talk about Guns N' Roses or the Scorpions, they go into Guns N' Roses Scorpions. I don't get the Scorpions. The Klaus's voice annoys the hell out of me. The music is annoying. I know a lot of people love the Scorpions, and I like UFO. I like UFO a lot. Cannot stand the Scorpions. Absolutely cannot stand the Scorpions. This is the last one. This will be a one that'll really piss a lot of people off too. Complete waste all around. Pantera. Nope. I don't care how great Dimebag was supposed to be. I don't care. Nope. Garbage. That stupid song Walk comes on. I would rather listen to a bad Neil Diamond demo than listen to Pantera. I cannot stand that band. And again, GNR, Rush, Scorpions, Pantera. Not as much the Beatles or Montrose, but those four, everybody assumes, because I'm into metal, I gotta love. They all suck. Take them, flush them down the toilet, get rid of them. Cannot stand them. So, yeah, those are bands that I either, wish I liked more, I'm just kind of a fair weather fan, or I think suck. But everybody assumes, because I'm into hard rock, heavy metal, and classic rock, that I absolutely are going to love. So, all right, I'm ready for the roast in the comments. Again, if you're going to start telling me I'm fat, please give me something besides a hamburger to eat. And let me know what bands you guys like. I'd love, this is one I would like to see. Do you agree with me? Are there any people that agree with me? I'm sure I'm going to get people that don't agree with me. Give me the list too, because I know I'm not the only one that thinks this. One of my closest friends growing up too couldn't stand Rush. Now, he really hated Led Zeppelin too. Didn't like the Rolling Stones. Didn't like the Beatles. He loved Pantera and the Scorpions. We'd go back and forth about that all the time. But yeah, so it's not... There are a lot of people that don't like these bands. People assume they do. So what are your bands? What are your bands that people just assume because you're into this music you must love? All right, thanks. Like, subscribe, do the whole thing, and hopefully we'll get an Instagram or something going soon. I will see you later.